All right, thank you for staying tuned to Niger Delta today. We're delving straight into it, talking about the Niger Delta experience, especially as President Bola Tinubu marks 2 years in office. A lot of talk has gone into how the president has committed to the issue of economic reforms in the nation. And comments, reactions have trailed how this has affected the common Nigerian and the Niger Delta region specifically. We've also heard of the national security attempts and focus of the Tinubu administration. So we're asking a question, how far so far? What has it been? Are there lessons learned? Are there strides that have been recorded, progresses that have been put in place? And can we build on whatever has been put on ground? To what extent can the gains that the 2 years of President Tinubu in the saddle leadership, what leaves can be borrowed from what he has been able to do so far? And moving forward, what is the way forward? We have joining us on the program the Director, Center for Human Rights and Accountability Network, CRAN, Otwekong Franklin Isang. He joins us live. You're welcome on the program. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Yeah, good to be with you. It's terrific
It's a terrific Thursday, yes.
Good to be with you, yeah. It's my pleasure once again.
Thank you. Well, it's 2 years of the Tinubu administration, 2 years of the Governor Moino administration, 2 years of the Delta Governor Sheriff Oborevori's administration. And all of these leaders, one thing is in common. They have come out to say that 2 years of being in the saddle leadership, they've been able to record some very impressive strides and have promised to do more. Well, the experience, a normal Nigerian on the street would say, have been one of bittersweet, you would say. But I'd like to hear from you. When we talk about the developments so far, since 2 years in office of the President Bola Tinubu, well, can we mirror that side by side with what's happening in the Niger Delta region? Of course, crisscrossing the different strides that the administration has made so far and how it has been able to benefit the common Nigerian. We know that the president started with the subsidies gone template, and since then, commentators have been of the opinion that yes, it was a sound move to remove fuel subsidy because it is going to open up our economy and help us achieve more. But then the ripple effect, as we know it, has been that Nigerians have had to bear the brunt. So far, how would you appraise these developments in 2 years?
Well, first of all, let me congratulate the President and the governors of the South-South region, starting from Akwa Ibom to Bayelsa, to Cross River, to Delta, to Edo, to Ondo, to River State, and then if you want to discuss about the Niger Delta region, we can now include the Imo and the Abia states. I think there has been tremendous improvement looking at from where they took off from. If you want to begin to appraise the state individually or the region based on individual states, you can say that there is much to talk about in terms of development, tremendous development. You mentioned the subsidy is gone policy of President Bola Tinubu when he took over the reign of leadership in 2023. Of course, that has put more money to the pocket and to the coffers of the states and local government. That has also witnessed a lot of development at the local government level and state level. Before I came on stage, I watched your review about the states, and you mentioned Akwa Ibom, and the governor was commissioning a project, I think in Eket, where he was making statements that very soon he will embark on tour of local government to commission their security villages, that is the homes of the local government chairmen where they will reside and local government officials. This is a welcome development. He talked about not touching the funds of local government chairmen. This is also a welcome development because of the president's policy. The president took it upon himself to champion the reforms for local government. Then he took the matter through his Attorney General of the Federation, Chief Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, to the Supreme Court and got the court to rule in favor of local government autonomy, that local government funds and finances should be paid directly to the local government council account, so that will also, promote development and growth at local government level. So that policy of Mr. President, or that position taken by Mr. President, has been a very big boost for local government in the South states, in the region, and the entire country. Then the policy of fuel subsidy removal also, brought in positive changes and challenges for the region. The positive changes, like I mentioned, is the funds that have gone to the pocket or to the purses and coffers of local government and state government. And you can see government of the local government and the state governors using the funds to develop their states, to develop their local government areas. Challenges that we have is, how does the policy affect the commoners, those who are not in government, those who are not in politics? How are they being impacted? Challenges has always been that when there is more funds in the state, it put pressure in dollar. You can now see that dollar rate has increased to over 1 naira to over 1,600 naira to dollar and more, and it is fluctuating. And the president also had another policy, naira devaluation, that also affected the stability of the currency. So these policies of the president within 2 years has also brought in positive impact and negative impact. Positive in the sense that the government officials and the governors of the region are seeing more funds to use to bring development in the region, but the ordinary man on the street is getting poorer, is unable to feed, is unable to survive. It has now become a survival of the fittest. You can now see the high rate of crime and criminality has increased. When you talk about how a government has performed, of course, I have oftentimes make reference to this section of our Constitution, Section 14 of our laws, of our Constitution, that says that the primary function of government is to provide welfare and security. The government is angling, is getting towards providing welfare, but the area of security has also not been touched. You can imagine what is happening, the insecurity that is very high in the region and in the country. So 2 years of Mr. President has brought in positive changes and challenges in the region. Now, one of the challenges that we have in the region was the policy of Mr. President to dissolve or scrap the Niger Delta Affairs Ministry and brought in the regional ministry, that a body that now oversees all the regional bodies. Like you have the South Development Commission, the Southeast Commission, the Northeast, and the rest. Now there is one ministry that oversees it, that has now taken the place of the Niger Delta Affairs Ministry. That policy, when it was announced, met severe opposition in the South region, because we had thought that it was supposed to be a policy that would help to bring more development for the oil producing communities and for the oil region. No, at the ministry. Okay. Not no, there is a ministry there was a ministry, Niger Delta Affairs Ministry, dedicated to oversee the activities of NDDC. Yeah. That ministry now was working hand in hand. You had these amnesty programs that the ministry was also overseeing. You had the ministry would also have a budget to run, and all of those were part of what was being overseen. Now, when the president came and now scrapped that ministry, he now took over the function of that ministry and embedded it into a larger ministry called the Ministry of Regional Development, that now oversees the regional bodies in the region.
With the South Development Commission coming
on stream,
don't you think that it still would be performing the roles of the ministry that you spoke
It will not. It will not, because the South Development Commission has its own statute that established it, has its own law that brought it to bear. And the law that brought it to bear did not say it's going to oversee NDDC. It is now like a commissioner, it's not like an interventionist agency like the NDDC. True. They are going to operate. Now you have the MD. and the CEO. Like you have the MD of NDDC and the CEO of NDDC. So that is how it is. You have its own board. You also have NDDC's board. So they're working hand in hand to, the area. For me, my own thinking, I'm yet to see the blueprint of the SASA Development Commission. But I want to envisage. I want to also think that what the commission will do will be like a stopgap where the NDDC did not reach. They will go in and reach those areas where the laws do not allow NDDC to stretch their tentacles to. Is the area that the commission will reach. So they will now work hand in hand to ensure that they bring more development to the region. So I'm saying that 2 years of Mr. President has brought in both positive impact and negative impact. The president, sought to intervene in resolving the crisis in Ogoni land so as to allow for oil drilling to take place in the Ogoni land, and they're going to clean up. He met with the leaders of the region in Aso Rock, and the dialogue is still ongoing. There was an attempt to go and commence drilling, and it met stiffer resistance from the people of Ogoni and the oil producing communities. So these are the issues. The president also has graciously approved that the NDDC should pay 50,000 naira to each student, to each person, rather, to each youth in the region, and 10,000 youth were enrolled from the region. This is a positive improvement. The president has also brought up the Operation Niger Delta, Operation the clean up of Niger Delta, which is meant to secure the oil and gas facility, and that's supposed to boost the crude oil production rate to up to 3 million barrels per day. So far, it has been boosted from 1.4 million barrels per day to 1.8 million barrels of crude oil per day. So the youth of the area have been engaged to secure the pipelines. You see, now the challenges we also have is that while that is being done, you have some explosion of oil pipelines, some bunkering activity that is disrupting the flow of crude oil and gas, facilities. So these are the issues that came within the 2 years of Mr. President. But on the whole, I think the president has done very well. He has so much good dreams for the region. In terms of appointment, yes, we have so much of appointment from his government. In terms of those who are holding high offices in his government, we have it from this region. He's bringing the coastal highway, right, from Lagos down to Cross River State, and this will crisscross all the oil producing states, all the crude oil producing states, all the south region will now be crisscrossed by the road up to Calabar, and then the east-west road is currently being dualized on the high speed. You see, but we still need more. Of course, now I've been told those who goes to Calabar are saying that the road had been there is now a better road to drive through to Calabar. So these are good omen under the president's 2 years in office.
All right. Well, when we look at the Renewed Hope Agenda Guide, we see that he talks about reforming the economy for inclusive growth, strengthening national security, boosting agriculture for food security, unlocking energy and natural resources. When we talk about the boosting of agriculture for food security, that brings us back to the issue of security and how this has prevented a lot of work when it comes to food production and seeing to it that people are able to access food at a very affordable price. Now, would you say that this, in a way, has affected the food production capacity within the Niger Delta region, and what has been coming in, and what steps can be taken? Because, I mean, we know that welfare has a way of influencing what happens when we talk about security. When the people are catered for effectively, there's really no issue with going into criminality and being a risk to the society. Now, what are those steps that you would say are recommendable in ensuring that we can tackle the issue of insecurity effectively so that the food crisis that seems to be very imminent currently can be tackled effectively?
The first thing to do is for us to have, I have said this over time, state police. We need to also have border guards We need to also have effective policing of our marine, our waterways. The activities of bandits, the activities of sea pirates, the activities of criminals have taken over our lands, so no one can even farm again and feel safe. You see people who go about with their cattle in the name of, railing their cattle in the daytime. At night they become something else when you are asleep. You have good laws in some of these states. Of course, I recall that in some years ago, during the past, during Buhari's administration, the South governors met, I think somewhere in Enugu, and they resolved that they should go and pass the anti-open grazing law. And they gave a timeline to all the governors of the state. And we have it in Akwa Ibom, and we have it in the state of the region. These laws have been passed, but the political will to implement and to enforce that anti-open grazing law is not there. So when you cannot farm, when you can't go fishing, how else can you feed? It is raining now. If you go for fishing, this is the time that fishermen can actually go and harvest more fishing. But the pirates are operating at rampage, abducting boat with persons and demanding for ransom. You go farming, bandit or herdsmen or whoever you want to call them will kidnap people and put them in a place and demand for ransom. You are even driving as a marketer. You go to market to buy goods. On your way back, the criminals will block the highway and wale the people, abduct them, and then ask for ransom. So you can see that the hardship becomes so biting, becomes so tightening because of this lack of political will to tackle criminals, to tackle this crime. So you now live so much on governed spaces. And when you leave that kind of spaces, you allow criminals to go in to begin to operate on a field day. Our creeks. How can, for instance, in Akwa Ibom and Cross River State, you can't even use speedboat to travel from Akwa Ibom to Cross River. The marine is almost safe. And when you are going there, I think on a Good Friday, that was on the 18th of March, on a Good Friday, a boat that conveyed 21 passengers from Akwa Ibom State to Cross River State from Oron. That boat was abducted. I think recently about half of the persons who were abducted were released. The other half are still being held and they are asking for ransom. So you can see fishermen are no more safe. When we as CSOs did our advocacy tour to a local government called Okobo in Akwa Ibom State, met with the Paramount, he took us to the beach where they call Atabong Beach. He showed us the beach. The beach is where you can have timber being imported and exported from Akwa Ibom to other part of the country. But they told us that the activities of pirates have not allowed them to operate. Those who brought in crayfish, last time, based on what we are told, they were waylaid. And the pirates will come, operate, and go back unchallenged. So you leave so much of ungoverned spaces. This is why you have the crime, going on. Then you leave that one, you enter into our forests. Those who go for hunting, you saw what happened in Edo State, where some persons we are killed wrongly under the guise that they were perceived criminals who were operating in the forest in Edo State, kidnapping people and killing people and maiming people. So you can see that our forest is not governed, our waterways are not governed, our roads are not governed, the farmland are also governed. So this now contributes to much of hardship, and this now brings too much of hunger to Nigerians.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let's move away from security, but it's still part of security, securing the welfare of the Niger Delta people. Now, in 2021, the PIA was signed, and Governor and President Tinubu coming on board, he implemented key aspects of that PIA, which led to the Host Community Development Trust. How would you x-ray that initiative of President Tinubu and how it has affected this region so far?
That PIA, the PIA is, like we said, it is a welcome development. It's something that actually, brought the host community closer to benefiting from what they are producing. For instance, in Akwa Ibom, if you get to the Eket axis, Eket Territorial District, you have what is called a MOEMI. A MOEMI is simply local government that constitute the oil producing areas coming together, having a trust fund, where this trust fund, the companies that are operating those pipelines pay a token to those trust funds, and the trust will now be used to better the lot of the community. They engage in entrepreneurship activities, a capacity development, training of the people, teachers. I think I have been invited severally to participate, to witness and observe the way they are carrying out activities, tackling the areas that have issues with oil spillage. They go in and discuss with the community, and communities that have issues with primary schools, they will try to renovate and the rest. I keep on saying I am from a crude oil producing community. It's called in Balenin, in Akwa Ibom State. And if it rains as it's raining now, any water you drink in my community, you are simply drinking condensate. The water is polluted with condensate, is polluted with heavy metals. When you fetch it in a bucket and you keep it for like 1 hour, you will see the way it will just, all the chemical will just float on the surface, and it looks like orange color. This is what my community people are drinking because of the oil activities going on within and around our environment. But truth is, we don't have potable water, and the community people have to drink that. So we have that PIA that should now say, fine, a community like Ekam, you need potable water in many locations, so you don't bath and drink from your stream or from the rainwater. If you go to Ibono, same thing happens. The day we went on advocacy to Ibono, my dear, we shed tears. The community had to dig a small well by the highway. So when it rains, the water from the highway will not drain to the pit. That is what they will go and fetch from. And those who are a little bit wise will fetch it, boil it, and drink. Highway, as motor is driving through, the water is draining from the highway, it enters the pit. In Ibono, you have same in Eastern Obolo, you have same in Imbo and the rest. These are oil producing communities. But we needed to have a trust that will now cash in on the PIA that the president has graciously given to us, and begin to develop these areas, cite what you need. Hospital. Do you know that in Ibono, for instance, you don't have
in place, so it's obvious that
that is the point. They need it's not indigenous. We need to begin to see this trust fund going out to do what they ought to do. For instance, in Ibono, if you live in Ibono, if your wife is to put to bed, you have to travel from Ibono to Eket. If she is in labor, that journey will take journey from Ibono to Eket will take it like up to an hour. A woman that is in labor will be carried in a vehicle and taken to Eket. Same thing happens to my community. You need to have hospitals that are well equipped to carry out surgery, to carry out all those issues that has to do with life threatening. But you might not have. So that is why we are saying the PIA is a record development, but we need to see more practical actions.
When we talk about practical actions, we know that this PIA has been put in place. Who are saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that it actually performs and does what it's supposed to do for the people? Like all of the points that you have made, examples that you have given as regards the different issues that are on ground within the Niger Delta region, which of course the PIA is meant to address. These efforts have been made towards ensuring that they are addressed. What is the challenge and how can they be addressed? Does the civil society organizations have a role to play in all of this?
Of course
in ensuring
we do.
that these people are brought to accountability?
Of course we do. That is why I have the vast knowledge of what I'm saying. It's because we are engaging them. Because we are engaging the trust, engaging the companies that are funding the trust to also see what they are using the funds to do. That is why we are saying what we are saying. Because when you have a trust that will, for instance, the community will need hospital. Instead of building hospital and equipping it, you go and begin to buy buses, mini buses, and share to people. And you buy tricycles and share to people. You are not going to achieve the real aim. So you need to also engage with the stakeholders of communities to know what they actually need, what are their needs. You do what is called need assessment. So this is what we are saying. That's why you have restiveness in some communities, not in Akwa Ibom. Akwa Ibom State case, like I just given you, we have that one called Emoyemi that is working, with the CSOs, working with the community leaders to give them what they actually need. If you travel to Bayelsa State, for example, I have been to Soku, I have been to LS and Gama. These people don't even know what is called good motorable road. The only road they know is bush track. Yeah, but they host oil pipelines. They host the school gas plant. I was in Bonny to see the entire community called Finima town was Bonny people was those from Egbani were moved from their land to Finima town, and then that area was developed. But but within the town of Bonny, is you really see good potable water to drink. So you can have this thing happening in Delta, in Imo, in Abia, in Ondo, in Akwa Ibom, in Bayelsa, across the region. So having the PIA is on the one hand, having the political will to implement the detail of the PIA is the main thing that is undoing the law being having effect.
All right, talking about education now, health and the social welfare of people in the region. Now, education, we know that the President Tinubu administration talked about students' loan, and over 200,000 Nigerians were captured. I don't know what percentage comes to the Niger Delta region, but the initiative is basically to encourage students and make sure that they are able to cater for their needs while schooling. Would you say that the initiatives of the Tinubu administration talking about education, health and social reforms have been able to achieve its aims as they were captured?
I have said the president has good intentions, came with good reforms agenda, came with the plan to touch on the lives of the ordinary citizens of this country, including those of the Niger Delta, and he's doing very well. I mentioned that he had approved that NDDC, that is Niger Delta Development Commission, should pay 50,000 naira to 10,000 youth, unemployed youth in the Niger Delta region, and this is ongoing, and he's doing that. You can see he talked about the youth. I think there is a plan to even have a youth conference to discuss how the youth will be involving in governance. So he has all these plans, but my problem or my take has always been those who are implementing these policies. How committed are they to ensuring that these policies are implemented to the letter? Are they actually allowing Mr. President's program to be seen as political? After the policies have been pronounced by President, it become a mere pronouncement, or are they actually taking practical actions? Is the ministry responsible to implement these policies? Are they actually doing what they should do? Are they reaching out to people across party lines, or they allow it to be seen as a political party, policy? Because if the president, who has good, large-hearted, policy that should impact on everybody, make a policy, make a statement, by now we ought to be seeing people who will say, "I have benefited from it." In Akwa Ibom, for instance, we should see people who will say, "Yes, in Akwa Ibom, okay, let us even ask, publish the list of those who have benefited. Let's even see how many are they from each of the states." That is when you will now know that the president could make a policy statement, but those policy statements don't actually trickle down to the downtrodden because of those who are there to implement it.
Okay, now talking about accelerating diversification through industrialization, we know that the borders are short, and there are mixed reactions as regards that, especially when people start complaining about food, the sufficiency of it. Now, how much of the diversification for industrialization have we witnessed in the current administration, and are there efforts to be made as regards that, so that we'll talk about local production of the Nigeria First policy of the Tinubu administration comes to mind, and if we are not well industrialized, can that policy truly see the light of day?
Truly speaking, and truth be told, I am not a fan of Nigerian First policy.
Why?
I have been against it. Cannot endorse it, and I think it is not the time. The time is ill time. Okay. Now, my reasons is very simple. You cannot say Nigeria First when you don't even produce toothpick. Which industry is working? Do you have steady power supply? Can you produce? What do you have? I mentioned insecurity here. You must have the enabling environment to talk about Nigeria First. You must have investors coming to invest. Look at what President Trump is doing in the US. bringing tariff to stifle people. If you are taking your goods to US, this is what you are going to pay. Can Nigeria do such a thing? If you do it, the country economy will just crumble. What item can we produce here, locally produced items? It's not possible. So it is, for me, ill time. What the country needs is to open all the gates. Let us have all food imported, because your land is not safe for you to even, farm. Your industry, you need steady power supply.
Well,
on the sea, you need to be protected to bring in your goods.
When we talked about removing
the commerce is not working.
When we talked about removing fuel subsidy, it was the same issue. It was ill-timed. It was ill-timed, and then the president did it.
Okay.
Yes.
When you say it is not yet time, when is it ever going to be time?
It will be time when we have fixed the enabling environment. I have just given you the statistics.
So if you say it's
now,
not yet time,
inflation rate
hand in hand.
Now,
And
okay, now the inflation rate is now 24%. It's higher, very high. So you
our
need
debt profile has drastically reduced.
Yeah, people are hungry. People are dying of hunger. Have you moved on the street to see in the region? That is why I'm saying, for me, it is ill time. First thing, you must fix your economy. You must be able to address the issue of naira dollar, policy. It's fluctuating. Who will come and invest here? If you give anybody contract today, the contract will, by next tomorrow, the contract will the price will vary, because the person will come for variation, because the price that was given to him was when naira was so amount of money to dollar. So you need to have steady, power supply. You need to have your security fixed. You need to have your currency stable. And when these policies are in place, you now talk about the industries. Let me ask you, have you seen, let me start mentioning names. Is Ascon operating? Is Ascon in Akwa Ibom? Is it producing? Is Ajakuta mill producing? We have Okubuku mill. Is it producing? And we have several industries that investors came, invested in Nigeria.
Well, there have been visits regarding.
That's the point. So over the years,
sure that they are resuscitated.
They have been promised revival.
No, I don't mean promise. If your refining, you don't refine. Even when you say you are refining today, go and see they have shut down.
The maintenance work.
That is the point.
Just for 30
How many
days.
is it up to a year? When we are here, singing hallelujah, praising that we have come up to life. They are singing, but now go and see it has gone back to the level of maintaining the plant.
Well,
Okay,
it has been shut down.
Let's just take you on health quickly. Before now, the president promised decentralized healthcare to make sure that healthcare is accessible to the grassroots through the primary healthcare centers. How has this been in the Niger Delta region in the past 2 years?
I am a village boy. That is why I mentioned some communities in Akwa Ibom State where I have first-hand information how the health sectors have functioned. And I told you here that if you know the community called Ibno,
That's just one out of many.
I'm coming. I'm using that one as an instance.
Okay.
Community called Ibno in Akwa Ibom State. If a pregnant woman is due for delivery and the labor kicks in the night, the husband will have to carry her. If he has no car, he must get a vehicle, carry her, or use a bike, carry her, or use keke, carry her from Ibno to Eket, where you can have hospital to attend to her. If someone is to be operated for hernia or any serious operation, he must be brought to Uyo, teaching hospital in Uyo. We need to begin to have, I mean, the president has good dreams. I have just said it. It is not the president's fault. Yeah, he came with a very lofty idea on how to give us renewed hope. But those who are implementing these policies are not actually helping
the issue
him.
of implementation must be
That is
tackled.
that is the point.
That's the focus for the next 2 years.
He should have a feedback mechanism to get to know. Haven't made this policy statement, this policy. Now come to Akwa Ibom to know in Akwa Ibom. Go in Bayelsa.
Okay.
Get to Ibno. Get to other local government areas. Get to other states. And know if this impact that this is policy that was made in Aso Rock, the impact is actually being felt in those different areas. Localities. You don't stay in the headquarters of a state and use it as a basis to have judged how a policy is working in the state.
All right. Well, Director, Center for Human Rights and Accountability Network, CRAN, which we're Franklin the song. Thank you very much for making our time the issue of improving governance for effective service delivery, and of course ensuring that the different loopholes when it comes to monitoring projects by government should be checked as much as possible, as you have really couched. Thank you very much for coming on Niger Delta today.
My pleasure, any day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, that's the size of Niger Delta today. Many thanks for being here with us. From me, Xavier Robert, and Awero Swagane Ebo, it is. Have a terrific afternoon. Bye.